Hey guys, we are back, and I'm Cody Bach here with Jonas and a special guest today, Per Eriksson.
Cody, it's pretty exciting to have Per here right before the handball, as we know, since he knows how to win handballs.
Thank you guys to have me here. It's very nice, and hopefully we can have a good talk.
Yeah. Per, how did you get your start in harness racing?
It's really because my dad had horses as when I went to high school. I felt that I'd like to do this, and I started to work with his horses for a couple of years, and then I got an offer to work for Ulf Nordin. It's Søren Nordin's oldest younger son, and I started to work for him at Solvalla. Stayed for him for 1 year, and then I got an offer to work for Søren and Jan Nordin here in States as a groom, and I went over. I think it was June 81, and I stayed there for a couple of years. A year as a groom and a year as a second trainer, and then I got an offer together with Ingvar Gran, my friend, to open up our own stable.
Who influenced you the most as a horseman?
It's a Nordin family. It's Søren Nordin, of course, Gunnar Nordin, Ulf Nordin, Jan Nordin. That's pretty much who influenced me most.
And do you have a moment in your life that defined you as a horseman?
I think it was when Prakas win 85, the first handball for us, that really put us on the map, and I think that's the first moment.
Jonas, how long were you with Per for?
I was with him for about 11 years, about 2 years as a groom, and then the rest of the time as a second trainer.
And Per, how was Jonas as a second trainer?
It was very good for me. He was first of all, you can see right away that he loved the horses, and he was very friendly with the horses. And he was very good to organize the barn. That's what you need, a big barn, especially in the States when you're going here and there, Grand Circuit. That's very tough to organize it, so he showed me right away that he was able to do that.
And Jonas, what was Per's biggest asset as a trainer?
I think he has the eye for the horse and be able to pick out a good horse and get them going, knowing when to train and how to train and who needed what and shoes and everything. So pretty much the whole aspect of the horse as an individual.
So Per, when did you win your first handbow and the ones coming after that?
85 we win with the Prakas, and 91 we had Giant Victory, and 92 we was first and second, and the winner was Alf Palema, and King Kong was second.
In 1985 you won with Prakas. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure because he was a big favorite, and he was syndicated from Hanover Shoe Farm, had just syndicated him, and there was a lot of money involved, and the pressure was that he don't gonna be able to lose the race, and at least thank God we held up to that pressure, and he was very good, and he win for fun. And then the 91 we have Giant Victory. He was a long shot, really. He was really surprised at the win. He was a pretty much failed gaited horse. He was all over with his hind legs, and we had Jack Moisev drive him, and he was not had not a lot of gate speed, but in the final he was just flying, and he was very strong, and he win pretty much for fun. 92 we had the favorite. It was King Kong. He was, I don't know what morning line he was, but he was a big favorite, and he really supposed to win, but he didn't have his best day, but we were very lucky because we got Alf Palema qualified, so he was in the race, but we didn't pay too much attention to Alf Palema because we really thought we put him in the race. The owner, Karl-Erik Bender, said, if we get this far, why we don't put him in? And I said, no problem. And we put him in, and he got qualified to the final. And then in the last turn, I remember sitting last with Alf Palema, and King Kong was in the lead, and I was just rooting for King Kong. The field bared out, all the horses was bearing out, and at the finish line I can see a horse beating King Kong with a half a length. I was mad because I never dreamed it was Alf Palema. I didn't see it was Alf Palema, and but he just got him at the wire, and it was a big surprise, big surprise. So It was a good surprise, but I thought it was another horse. So I got so exciting. I was standing in the office at the old grandstand, and I kicked the file cabinet down. So it was big dents in it. So it was a good time, but really King Kong was the best horse of the both, but he had not the best day.
And I'm sure all three were incredible horses, but do you have one that sticks out?
Yeah, Prakas always gonna stick out most because he put us on the map and he was a really good horse, and that's pretty much it.
Now, Jonas, you were with Per for these Hamiltonian wins?
No, I actually started a week after Alfa Lima won the Hambo. So I missed all three of them, but we still had some good horses after that too. So.
And Per, what horse has been the most special to train?
Special to train was Prakas really, because this was, we're talking 83, I think Legolas was here winning international, and Legolas was trained in a special way that pretty much not been done in the States, what I know about before that it was pulling a cart that was brakes on the wheel. And I've done that in Sweden in a different way, but the same idea. And I was able to buy his power cart, the name was, and that's what we did with Prakas, because Prakas had some issues with soundness on his knees, and he was not able to take the pounding on the track to train twice a week or whatever. So he was just walking and pulling that power cart for 2 or 3 hours a day, and they made him real strong.
So yeah, so that's where my pressure cards comes in too. Since in episodes before this, you've seen that we use the pressure card. So it goes back all the way to Prakas for me too, with using the pressure card on our horses to help out them if they have something that's a little sore, that we can not have to pound on them every day on the hard track.
Now, Jonas, it's rumored that your nervousness before races has come from your old boss.
Yeah, I think that's something that I got from him, from not wanting to watch, because you send him out, it's out of your hands and you're just standing on the sideline, so it gets a little nerve-wracking knowing and hoping that you've done everything you were supposed to do to have them ready to go.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. I'm still, as of today, have a tough time to stand still and look at the races, when the big races, and it's pretty much the same idea. I'm not really nervous, but you really want to make sure that you don't miss anything, because especially when you go out in a big race, sometimes like the Hamiltonian, you only get a once in a lifetime with that horse, so you don't want to come back and saying, he was hanging too much on the right line, left line, because I didn't do my work to get him ready. So that's pretty much it.
Per, tell us a funny story about Jonas as a second trainer.
We have a lot of funny stories. Some we don't even can tell on TV, but on the movie here. But one funny story was we had a horse named Giant Force. He went over to Europe to race in the big races, and we were partnership of 4 or 5 guys, and one was Olle Goop, and he called me in the middle of the night and woke me up and said that we have a little problem, because Giant Force was standing at the racetrack outside Milan in Italy. And he called me up and said that we have some problem, because the groom that took care of Giant Force had run into some problem and had to go to jail. So I went to Jonas, I think 6:30, 7 in the morning, woke him up. He was sleeping in his end room in Sunshine Meadows, and I said, Jonas, do you have a passport ready? Yeah, why? Yeah, you have to go to Italy. So 3 hours later he was on the airplane to Italy, and he stayed there for 3-4 months before he come back to carry the horse.
Yeah, so that was that was an interesting morning, being woken up from a Sunday morning, and just all of a sudden 3 hours later you're on a plane. And it wasn't so much that I was asked if I wanted to go. It was more like, you're going. So that was how that all came about.
You have no choice.
Yes.
Now, Per, when you went home to Sweden, did you think Jonas would stay in the States or come back?
No, I was pretty sure Jonas wanted to stay in the States. I didn't think he wanted to go back to Sweden to work with horses. He maybe wanted to go back for his family, of course, and all that stuff. But I think Jonas felt that he was home here in the States, and I know he's gonna get some horses to open up in his own stable, and I'm not surprised that he got so successful he was. like he is.
Yeah, so that was like, I mean, it felt like when Per went home that it was like time to give it a try and see. Sweden was always going to be there, so I mean, and then we had some success and get going and got to where we are today.
And how is racing in the U.S. different from Sweden?
It's not that much different anymore, but of course the two-year-old racing we have here in the state is different from Sweden. We race some two-year-old races, but not as much. But otherwise, it's not that big different anymore. I mean, horses going fast, you need a top horse to be able to compete, and the same in Sweden. Before you can have okay horses, and you could make then at least pay the bills, but that's not the case anymore. You need a top horse, and that's pretty much the same as here. So it's not that much a big difference. We have a lot of good horses in Europe, like you have here. Maybe a little bit advantage we're gonna have in Sweden is because we don't get the inbred so much, because we can now start to mix it up a little bit with good French breeding. So, but still, it's a lot of good horses in Europe and even here in the States.
Yeah, because now you can see, like in the old days, or when I first came to the States, you could literally sell a mediocre horse from here and go home and he would clean house in Sweden and everything. But now, if you don't bring the best home, you're not competing over there anymore either. So racing has picked up a lot over there too.
Oh, definitely. Good drivers, good tracks. They drive aggressively more. They go pretty much. The driving style is getting closer and closer to what it is here. So that's why you see all the fast times in Sweden and Europe too.
Okay. Do you condition your horses differently from Sweden compared to when you're over here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I am. I mean, the two-year-olds, we train them consistently 5-6 days a week when we train them. That's not as a big difference, but we don't have to push them as hard to go so fast that early. And then when they get older, we train in deep sand and hills and all that stuff, and that's a little bit different from what we're doing here.
So your kids have never really been involved in harness racing until now. Vanessa's working at Team JC Stable, and soon Maria. Did you ever think that this would happen?
No, I thought we really vaccinated them very good away from this business, but apparently not. And yes, as a joke. No, it's a surprise that Vanessa is here working with the horses. Maria, that's going to be here in a month. I'm not that surprised, but I think it's very good. Yes, for them to get discipline, not because Jonas is a tough guy or anything like that, but to be around and work in a harness horse stable, you get a lot of discipline. The horses discipline you, the grooms around you disciplines you, because it's not work, it's a lifestyle. You have to do it 24-hour a day. Go up 3-4 in the morning and go to Meadowlands, come back, pick up new horses and goes. And I think it's good because some of the kids today, they get tired and they say, no, I cannot do this because I'm tired. But now you can feel how far you can push yourself. It's not you're not gonna die because you get a little tired. So I think it's very good. I think every kid should go through some kind of work with animals, especially horses.
Yeah, so I mean, I was very surprised when I got the call from Tina and asked me if Vanessa could come over, because I was kind of under the same thing, that I thought Maria was the one that was going to come over here. So I mean, I was surprised to hear that the Eriksson kids were going to go working with racehorses.
Now, your wife Tina has been there pretty much from the beginning, and all the business and racing. It's a tough business to have a marriage in. What's your secret?
First of all, we had the same interest. We both love horses. I think that's the first key. It's hard if one doesn't like the horses or the business. It's going to be very tough to keep it together. And we've been through a lot, ups and downs, with the horses, and even the private life. We had some problems, but that makes everything much stronger. And you do it, being together so many years, and especially in this business, and if you go through, if you make it this far, you feel nothing can go. You get very strong.
And what advice would you give to an up-and-coming driver or trainer?
Yeah, First of all, you have to love it, and you have to realize that you have to put in. It's not going to be a regular job. It's going to be a lifestyle. So you're talking 7-24 to do it. But I think another advice is that I didn't do. Try to get some other education before you start with this, because it's always nice to have something you can go back to. For me, it's tough. I only went through high school, and to find another job now you have to go through a lot of other education that you're supposed to get done when you were early. So that's my education. At least go through college, and then you can start with it.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to like start on the bottom. Like you're not gonna just walk in the barn and say I wanna become a second trainer. Like it's really good you have to start from the bottom and work your way up, so you know ins and out on horses before you just start riding horses.
I want to thank you all for tuning into this latest episode of Fika with Jonas. You can leave any comments or questions or topics that you have for us for the next up and coming episodes. Just look us up at Team JC Stable on Facebook or Twitter. Thank you.
Thank you.